Sometimes you're asleep and you just can't make a meet. But don't you fret, we all sometimes forget. Stay tuned in case you missed it.
In case you missed it.
Welcome to the next amazing episode of In Case You Missed It. This is the series where I go in and talk about all of the different things that we cover on our live meetings, just in case you weren't able to come to them. Okay? So let's go ahead and jump into what happened in our live meetings this week. So first, we always start off with our lesson discussion sheet here. This tells us everything that we're going to do during the meeting. We always review our rules. Mics are off, cameras are on. Don't be distracted on camera, and chat is for school purposes only. We're not putting random stuff in there. And then we talk about what we're going to do this week. So we're taking a quick break from recorders. We're going to get back to them next week. But we're going to jump in and do our note name practice. Now, what's cool is when we're doing recorders, we're also learning note names. So it's like we're learning note names in two different sides of things. But today, we're just going to put the recorders aside for a moment and focus just on our note name practice. Okay? So how do we do that? Well, we're going to review our previous strategy, the FACE and EGBDF method, talk about those acronyms a little bit. Then we introduce the new strategy, the alphabet method. And then we have a quick activity, and we're going to take a quiz. So after you watch this video, you can do the activity and take the quiz so you can get more out of your music lessons, okay? And then also we were just talk about what are we doing next week. We're going back to recorders. We're going to learn a new note, and we're going to practice our music together. It's going to be awesome. Okay. So let's jump over to our lesson for the week. And here it is. I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller. Okay, so this is a little bit of review from last time we did this, but some of you are new. Maybe you forgot, so this is important for us to talk about. Okay, so first we are introducing the staff. The staff is it's the basic part of music that we use to read notes. And so the staff, like it says here, has 5 lines and it has 4 spaces. So we would say that a note is either on a line or in a space. There's line notes and space notes. So if a note is centered right on top of a line, then we call it a line note. And if it's right in the middle, right in between 2 lines, it's a space note. It's pretty easy, but it's something you have to know in order to move on. So here are some clefs. Now, a clef is this funny little symbol. There's actually quite a few different clefs. These are the 2 most common clefs that we use, and their little symbol is at the very beginning, at the front of the staff. So here we have a treble clef, and here's a bass clef. We're actually only really going to be using the treble clef for most everything that we do here in general music. But just know there are other clefs out there, with the bass clef being the most common. So I actually think that treble clef is one of the funnest things to actually draw in music. It's actually really, I enjoy it. Okay, so this is sort of an example of what I was talking about earlier with lines and spaces. We see that here with the treble clef, we actually see that we have 4 notes that fit into the spaces. And these are what they look like when they're in between 2 lines. These are their note names, F-A-C-E. Last time we learned that the space notes spell out the word face when you go from the bottom space up to the top space, F-A-C-E. And then we have our line notes right here. These are the notes that are on line. You can see that it's not in between 2 lines. It's actually just sitting right on top of a line. And then if you were to spell it out going from the bottom up to the top, it would be E, G, B, D, F. Unfortunately, that doesn't spell a really cool word for us. So we made up something. And you can make up anything that you want. But the one that I prefer is every good boy does fine. The reason I like that one is because the word fine rhymes with the word line. These are the line notes. So you could sort of think the names of the notes on a line are every good boy does fine. It's a nice little poem thing that you can think of that rhymes, and I like that. But you could come up with anything. Like even gigantic brontosauruses desire fudge. Like you can come up with any sort of thing. So those are our line notes and our space notes. You can see that the bass clef is there too, but we're not really going to worry about that right now. And so what we just talked about is actually right here. You can see that we have our line notes. This one uses every good boy deserves football, and that's fine. And then F-A-C-E, face, is for the space notes. So that is just the method that we learned last time. And here's the cool thing. I'm going to teach you multiple methods on how to learn your note names. And you get to choose whichever method works best for you. If this method fits, it clicks, you understand it, boom, I got it. No need to talk anymore. That's totally cool. You can use this method forevermore. But I'm going to teach, and just in case you're like, this one's okay, whatever, I'm going to teach you another method today, and that might be better for you. You might enjoy that more. So it might be more effective for you. So you get to choose which method works best for you. But it's cool to know all the different methods regardless. So let us now talk about the new method. This is called the alphabet method. I'm going to move myself up here. So with the alphabet method, the first thing you need is an anchor note. This is a note that you already know the name of. This is a note that you can be like, every time you see it, you know what it is. Basically, I'm saying if you learn one note, you can then figure out all of the rest, okay, just by knowing your alphabet. So there are two different anchor notes that I suggest maybe having in your brain. The first one is, I'm going to go backwards a little bit. This is B. This is the note B, and we know B because of our recorder practice. We know that with our recorders, we push down our thumb and our first finger right here, and this is the note B. This is the first note we learned on recorder. And so hopefully, if you're playing recorder stuff with us, you know the note B already, right? And this is the note B. It's right in the middle. It's the line that's right in the middle. If you were thinking of the previous method, every good boy, boy, that is the B in that we're talking about here for our anchor note. So you could use B as an anchor note. That's one option. The other option is the G, which is right here, this red line right here. Now, why is G an anchor note? Well, sometimes the treble clef, which you see pictured here, sometimes people call it the G clef. Why is it the G clef? Well, first, there's for two reasons. Reason number one, it kind of looks like a G. Looks like a very, very fancy schmancy G that's messed up just a little bit. And so this, sometimes they call it a G clef because it kind of looks like the letter G. But the other reason they call it the G clef is because you can see right here that there's a nice little circle, that the clef sort of makes a circle, and it circles around a line, and that's this red line right here. So because the G clef makes a circle around the G line, it looks like a G, it circles the G line, we can remember that this is the G clef. So you have two options, the B because of recorders, the G because of G clef. Those can be your anchor notes, okay? And anchor notes, those are just, I remember this note. This is the G, and I got it. It's in my brain. I remember it, okay? That's an anchor note. So now, I don't know where I'm going to put my camera because I have words underneath this. So let's just do that for now. Okay, sorry about moving the camera all the time. So here's the actual alphabet method. So you can see in the middle of the page, I have a nice little clock there. I made this myself. This is my note clock. And I like to think about it this way because as we go through the notes on a staff, it's actually circular. It always loops back to the beginning. So if we were going to name our notes going from the bottom up, we could go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, what note comes after G? Well, there's no H note. We just keep going in the circle. After G is A, B, C, and so on. So that's why I kind of think of it as a circle, because we always come back to A once we get to G. Or if you're going backwards, you know, sometimes it's hard, but you can say the alphabet backwards. Well, the same thing. If we're going downwards, we can go the other way around the clock. It's called counterclockwise. And if we're going backwards or down, D, C, B, A, well, what note comes before A? Well, that would be G in the clock method. So this might be a little helpful thing. Okay, so how do we actually do the alphabet method? Well, first, you have to choose a note that you know. What is the note that you know? Well, you know the anchor notes. You know a B or a G. So first start with B or G. Got it in my brain. I know the B, I know the G, I know what it looks like, I know where it's at. And then you can count up or down to the note that you want to know. So we're looking at a note, perhaps we don't know it, and we want to get to it. We're going to count up or down from our anchor note. So we start at the anchor note, and then we count. If we're going up, we count up, and if we're going down, we count down to the new note. And then we can figure out the new note's name. You have to count from line to space. We're not going to go space, 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 skipping like we did before with F-A-C-E. We just went space, space, space. We're not counting like that. We're not counting line, line, line. We're going from line to space to line to space, counting without skipping, okay? And then we also remember that you start the alphabet over when you're at the GA area of this little clock. So let's try this. If we're so you can see right here, there's another quick line. I'll move this. Actually, I don't have to. It says going up on the staff is going clockwise. So if we're counting here, we have this note G, and we're going to, the note is above it that we're going to go to. We count up. That means we go clockwise or forward through the alphabet. So this way, forward through the alphabet. If we're going down, here's our G, and we want to go lower to a lower note. We're going to go backwards through the alphabet or counterclockwise around our clock. So if we're starting at G right here and we're going backwards, we go, well, F is right below G, and then E is right below F, etc. So let's practice this. So here is our first note that we're going to try and practice with. I'm going to think, okay, my anchor note is G because of G clef. So I see my clef, it circles this line. And so that means this line right here is G. This is the space right below it. So I'm going to go down one space from my G. My G is right here. I'm going to go down one space to here. So since I'm going down, I'm going to go backwards around. See right here, going down. You're going to go counterclockwise or backwards. So G, what's right below G is F. That makes this note F. All I had to do was count one letter space, and I had the name of F. Let's do our next one, which is E. So let's start with our G again. G clef. I'm going to start with G. You could start with B if you wanted to. I'm just going to start with G. So here I'm going up from G, and I'm going to go through the alphabet regularly. I'm going to go forward through the alphabet. So G, what's after G is A because of the clock. And then after A is B, which is this line. And then C is this space. And then D is this line. And then here we are at, this is E. E is this space. So we're just counting using our alphabet, starting with a note that we know, using the circle, and we're able to find the next note name. Let's do one more example. We know the G. The G is here. We're just going to go up one space. So what comes after G? Oh, that's A, right? Next after G is A. Once you figure out what a note name is, you can just write it down. So you can see that we have, we learned that this note was F. So if you skip all the way to the end, well, this note is F too. It's the same note. You don't have to count every time. Once you know, oh, that's an F, you can just use your memory. I remember it. The answer is F. I know sometimes in math, they always want you to do the work. Always show your work. Well, in this case, you don't have to show your work. Once you memorize it, once you remember what the names are, you're totally good to go. Okay, that is the alphabet method. Now, quickly, I want to show you your activity and quiz that you can do with this alphabet method or with our note names. Okay, let us hop over to here is a classroom. I'm just going to go to the 4th grade classroom because why not? It looks a little bit different, but that's okay. You can see in your stream, it says Mr. Reynolds posted a new assignment, optional live meeting assignment number 2. That's what we're discussing. You can click on that here, or if you want to, you can go to your classwork and you can scroll down to enrichment, and enrichment says optional live meeting number 2. That's something that you can click on here. So I'll just click on that. And then you can see that there are 3 things here. There's the note name primer. That is the slides presentation. I couldn't remember the word slides. That was the slides presentation that we just went through. If you want to say, what was that? What was the alphabet circle clock thing? If you want to reference that and look at it, you can click on it here. Here's our note name activity, and here's our note name quiz. The quiz is really simple. It's just a Google form, just like all of your exit tickets that we do. You don't really need any extra help on there. You just go through. It's all multiple choice. And you try and name notes using whatever method you want. You can even use the primer as a helper if you want to. You can use this slide thing as a helper to help you do your note name quiz if you wish. But let's just talk about this note name activity. It's a little bit, maybe a little bit different or confusing if you don't remember how it works. So this is a cool program called Google Draw. And so the whole point of it is we're using our mouse to be a pencil, because why not? So you have to turn, right now it's not a pencil, it's just like a little mover thing. You can grab things and move them. We don't want that. So we want to turn our mouse cursor into a pencil. The way you do that is you go up here where there's a line. It says line. You're going to do a drop down arrow and you're going to go down to scribble. Once you're here at scribble, you are now, it doesn't look like, it looks like a little cross there, but it's actually a pencil. You can now draw lines. And in your mouse, it's like using a paint program, okay? So now there's questions here. What is this called? Well, we remember this is called the staff. So you can use your little pencil there to draw the word staff. There, I gave you a free answer, right? Anyway, you can go through here and you can name all of their notes. So you're like, oh, this is an F. I remember that. Or this is G. Or you can say, I remember F because it's F-A-C-E. So here's your F, A, C, E. You know that. So you can just say, okay, well, this is an F. And this is an A, etc. You can go through it and write it in. Same thing here. And then here are some other notes that you can count off. You can try the alphabet method. You can remember the FACE method. I recommend doing a method that you are familiar with, that you don't have to keep flipping back and forth and looking at that primer. The point is we want you to get good at doing it without the primer eventually, right? And then the last thing here is a little bit different. And actually, it's kind of hard to see here because of that little window. Okay, so here we have some note names, but no notes. There's no notes here. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to draw your notes. You're going to draw your little circles in the spaces that they belong. And then you'll be able to, you're showing me that you can draw the notes in the right place. So once again, if we're looking to draw an A, well, we know that this second line here, because of the G clef, is the G note. And the letter, and so if we go up one space, what letter comes after G? It is A. And so that A is actually right here above the G, and you can draw your little circle. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just do the best you can. And you're going to draw in these 5 notes, and that is your little practice activity before you take your quiz. So do this activity, and then do the quiz, and then you're done. And remember, once you get 100% on your quiz, then you don't need to take the quiz anymore, and you're done. So that's a cool thing. So go ahead and do that. Okay, thank you so much for joining me today on In Case You Missed It. I appreciate you trying to catch up with your live meets, and I hope to see you in a live meet next week. Bye-bye.